Okay, now what I want to do is talk about articulation. We've talked about scales, we've talked about major scales, minor scales, modes, we've talked about chords and how chords are built. What I want to focus on now is articulation. And what that means specifically is things like bends, hammer-ons, pull-offs, slides, things that actually give your music character and common notations that you're going to come across all your life as a guitarist. The first one I want to talk about is bends. Bends are simply when you take a note on the fretboard and you bend it to another note on the fretboard. So let me give you a perfect example of how this works. Let's say I take this note right here. Right? If I want to bend it a full bend, that means I'm going to go from this 15th fret on the second string all the way. I want to try to make this note sound like this note. So the way I can do that is bend it up. So, did you hear it change pitch? Here, let's listen again. So that would be a full bend because I went up one entire fret. What if I wanted just a half bend? Well, if I want to go from here to here, then I have to bend it up a half step. Here I'm just going to just the next step up. That's a half bend. You can also have a quarter bend. A quarter bend would be actually a note that can't even be played on the keyboard. I mean on the fretboard, and it would be basically you're taking this note and you're bending it between this note and this note. And so it's just kind of a slight little bringing it out of tune. So you could a quarter bend would go like this. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm bending it up and I'm letting it come back down. Now, you can also have full 2 fret bends. Well, if I go from here, if I went up 2 full frets, I'd have to make this note sound like this note. So I'm trying to reach this note, which I'm not even sure I can do with these thick strings, but I'll try. I brought it all the way up 2 full frets. It's a lot easier to do when you're using smaller strings. Now let's talk about unison bends. Unison bends are where you basically take 2 strings and you strike them together to produce a double bend or unison bend. So in this case I'm going to take these 2 notes on the 14th fret 2nd string, 14th fret 3rd string. Here I'm bending those up. Basically, I'm doing a half bend on those 2 strings. Now let me give you an example how this might be used in a lick. Right? Okay, so you can also have what's called a ghost bend, where instead of striking the note and moving up, you start in the up position and you come down. Okay, so here's a way that would be used. See how I'm starting the note high, coming down to the note I want. Okay, so now let's look at how bends might be used in not only unison bends, but where you would you bend one note while you're holding the other. So instead of just, how about, here I'm keeping this string the same, but I'm bending this one, and I'm striking them together. Okay, and you can do it all kinds of different ways. Okay, so what I was doing on that one is I was raising this a full step, but I was keeping this note the same, and I was playing them at the same time. Okay, so that's pretty much the way bends work, and you can play them anywhere on the fretboard. They give your music great articulation.